What's up, Internet? My name's David Webb.
I'm Arrielle Edwards.
We get nerdy nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you. Oh my God. I was like, oh, we're going normal today. Because the last one you were like, just, fairly normal.
Yeah, but that was for a fairly normal movie. Look, Tenet has a lot of like brain bending, but like structure wise,
sure,
it's a Marvel movie.
Yeah, we've decided, if you haven't listened to our previous podcast about Tenet, which we saw last night, go check that out, because Christopher Nolan made a superhero movie.
He did. He made a superhero movie. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. He would hate that comparison so much. And so I'm sorry, Christopher Nolan, and I would love to work with you in the future, because you're one of the best directors on the planet, making some of the... Your movies are amazing.
Yeah.
You just happen to have made a superhero movie that I think is even more of a superhero movie than your actual superhero movies.
Wait, he's made oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
3 of them?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you...
Never heard of it.
Never heard of Batman?
No.
Batman? Which is funny, because the next Batman was in that one.
That's true.
No, but we're here to talk about a superhero movie.
Yes.
New Mutants.
Yeah, which has been a long time coming.
Yeah, this movie has been pushed back 4 times.
Yeah.
This movie was originally supposed to release, I believe, April 1st of 2019. If I'm not No, I think...
Gotta Google it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that up, because it's hilarious.
Because, yeah, the story, like, the fact that this movie actually, like, managed to be released at all, like, that it exists.
I'm pretty sure this movie was originally supposed to come out before the final season of Game of Thrones.
What?
Yeah, I for some reason I remember that. This film stars Maisie Williams, which is why I bring that up. Oh, it was originally set to be released.
Oh, wow.
Before the final season of Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. It was originally set to be released on April 13th. What year?
Oh, no. 2018?
Yep.
Wow.
Before being delayed to February 22nd, 2019 to avoid Deadpool 2. And then to August 2nd, 2019 to avoid Dark Phoenix. It was delayed to April 3rd, 2020 by Disney after it acquired Fox. Mm-hmm. Before being pushed to August 28th because of COVID-19.
Jesus Christ.
This movie has moved so much. And my favorite thing about it is that it moved to avoid other X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Made by the same people.
Yeah, they're like, nah, we can't have more than one at the same time, apparently.
This movie is directed by Josh Boone. As I said, it stars Maisie Williams as Rain, but she's not the lead. The lead is, I just want to pull up her name because I don't actually know her.
Yeah, I have not seen her before. I believe she's new in town.
I love that on Wikipedia, she is the 5th person in the cast.
Really?
Yeah. Her name is Blue Hunt. As Danny Moonstar, a Native American mutant who can create illusions based on the fears and desires of other people. We have Maisie Williams as Rain Sinclair, is a Scottish mutant who can turn into a wolf. Mm-hmm. Anya Taylor-Joy as Illyana Rasputin. Truly the best name. She's Colossus's sister from X-Men.
Oh, interesting.
And she has a purple dragon named Lockheed. As well as she's got like a lightning arm. She's got a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, I think.
Charlie Heaton as Sam Guthrie, a Southern gentleman who is Cannonball. Alice Braga as Cecilia Reyes, who is their captor / Doctor. And of course, Henry Zaga as Roberto da Costa, a Brazilian mutant who can manipulate solar energy, also known as, not Sunstar. Oh my God, why can't I remember his name?
I don't know.
Soulstar? Something like that. And Adam Beach as William Lone Star, Danny's father of Cheyenne descent. If you're wondering why I read out the entire cast list, it's because that is the entire cast list.
Yeah, there's
this is a
no
movie
one else.
With no one.
Like, not even really extras. Like, maybe like a few here or there for like...
Only in the opening sequence. And in the memory sequence. Yeah. This was a weirdly unpopulated film to me.
Yeah.
And it made it feel kind of cheap.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, in my opinion, the special effects looked pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, I would say so.
All of the fur work for Maisie Williams's wolf transformations looked really cool.
Yeah.
Especially her eyes.
Yeah, the eyes actually looked like legit. I was like, oh, that doesn't look corny. Like, the fire as well, like, and the oh god, the like limbo effects. I mean, so we walked into this and you were like, oh, have you like seen any of the trailers for New Mutants? And I was like, no, not really. And he's like, okay, great, because we might have just walked into a horror movie.
Which I think this wanted to be, but and here's what I will say about this movie. There's a lot about it that I enjoyed. There is. But it was a little weak sauce.
It was.
It didn't commit hard enough to any of the ideas that it brought up.
Yeah.
And because of that, it came off as a little bit just kind of... I don't want to say that because like everyone involved was doing a really good job.
Yeah, that's not what I mean.
It just it felt like what it felt like to me was like Josh Boone was like, because Josh Boone directed the Fault in Our Stars movie, which I think is a really, really solid adaptation. And I was excited to see what he did with New Mutants because the source material is so good.
Yeah.
And he adapted something very well in the past, and is particularly with teenagers and teenage relationships.
Yeah.
And so I was excited to see how he handled those elements of this. And it felt to me like Josh Boone walked into the studio and was like, I want to make the horror X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And the studio was like, that sounds so cool. We're going to let you do that. You can do whatever you want. And then he put in a script and they were like, all right, we're going to cut these 15 things, but other than that, do whatever you want. And then he put in another script and they're like, all right, we're going to cut these 9 things, but other than that, do whatever you want. And because it felt to me like there was an original idea in the script that was so watered down to whatever this was. And it's a shame because there's stuff about this movie that I really loved. I loved that they brought in the Tara Willow kiss from Buffy. That's the first lesbian kiss on television to foreshadow a lesbian relationship in the film. I love that they brought in it's a very diverse film in a lot of ways. For sure. Particularly towards Latinx people. Obviously, and the lead is obviously very... her Native American identity is very prominent to her character. But the plot and the tone, particularly the tone, just felt like it was this watered down version of what it could have been. Yeah, it didn't really feel like it committed to what it wanted to be. I don't know. That's kind of sounds like a stupid, ambiguous thing to say, but it just was not like... Yeah, like it didn't ring home for me. It was oh man, I don't know. This one is difficult because like I was trying so hard to enjoy it and then the writing just kept slipping and I was like, "Oh man, like I feel like I could have written some of these lines better." You know what I mean? Like some of them we would like turn to each other and kind of give it the like yikes look. And it was, I don't know, I wanted to enjoy it really badly because I liked I liked what it was trying to be. And like I said, you know, like I think that when, like you said, that the source material there is strong and well-rounded, and I could see that there were things there that I was like, yeah, that's what I want, like, and I was really like gung-ho for those, and like I wanted to I can't put my finger on it because I'm not like a professional film critic and analysis is not my strongest suit, but it was disappointing. I think something that really stood out to me was that they had Bill Sienkiewicz, who is a truly legendary comic book artist, draw the end credit scenes. Oh, yeah. And they were gorgeous. And it stuck out to me so much because the movie up until that point wasn't visually very interesting. Yeah. There was one moment where they play on how rain affects one character's powers. I think that's a subtle enough way to say that. And that was the only moment that I was visually like, oh, wow, that's really beautiful. Like, that's a cool idea. But even like, you know, with the villains at one point, the sort of like henchman-y things that are created by Moonstar's power, they kind of looked like a weird video game from 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they kind of looked like Five Nights. They look like they would come out of like a Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff.
Or like kind of similar to like it's like if you took like oh god, what's the spider not oh god, I can't remember it. Not Spider-Man, but the he's got the Venom. That's it. Looks like the Venom mouth on one of the Silence from Doctor Who.
Yes.
That took me way too long to say. But
I think that if you're going to go with the design of those characters, don't have the hallways be so well lit. Because that in bright lights, they're not scary. Mm-hmm. And also...
Like, I don't like horror movies, but I wasn't really, like, freaked out. Like,
and you get scared at everything.
Yeah, like...
And this didn't scare you, which tells you, like, the quality of the horror.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Like...
like you... Because I turned to you before the movie started, and I was like, this might be a horror movie.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, well, I got through Alien Covenant, so I might be okay. And I was like, Alien Covenant is not a horror movie.
It scared the fucking shit out of me, so...
But if Alien Covenant is what is the bar for what is scary, a movie that is trying to be a horror movie should at least
Wait, I'm sorry. How is Alien Covenant not scary?
It's not a horror film. It's like...
Whatever.
It's an action movie with an alien.
Whatever.
And
sick of your shit.
Michael, what's his face? Putting a flute in his own mouth, in his clone's mouth. Do you not remember that scene?
No, I do. I was like, wait, what are you talking about?
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Did they get... What's his last name? Michael...
Names are not my strong suit.
Oh my freaking god.
David's having a meltdown.
I hate that I can't remember his name right now.
But the character's name is David, so...
Well, yes. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, this is like the most homoerotic scene I've ever watched an actor film with themselves.
Himself, yeah.
I want them to release the behind the scenes of that, where they have some stunt double sitting there, and they're like, all right, now, Michael, just really slowly, just like really, really slowly slide that flute in those lips. Yeah. You slide that flute in those lips.
Oh my god.
But, yeah, this movie was buoyed by some really, really fun performances. I thought, Blue Hunt and Maisie Williams had genuine chemistry.
Yeah, they were sweet.
And
Maisie Williams was so sweet. I was like,
when she's, part of the problem, so they're supposed to do reshoots on this movie that I heard, and maybe this isn't why, but that people were talking about how those reshoots got canceled because the actors had grown up so much that they didn't look the same anymore.
Yeah.
They filmed this movie in 2017. Like, it's been like forever.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean... you know what? It was released, so good for them. It made it.
And here's what's going to help this movie long term is it's not going to make enough money to make a profit.
Yeah.
But before, it wouldn't have made enough money because the reviews weren't going to be great. Mm-hmm. Now it's not going to make enough money because of COVID. And so Disney, by releasing this right now, because there's a part of me that was like, why not just move it to Disney Plus for $30? They're going to do it with Mulan. And then I watched it and I was like, well, that's why.
Yeah.
I understand why this got bumped. You know what I mean?
They just wanted to it felt like they just wanted to get it out and over with so that they could move on.
But all of the movies coming out right now, and Tenet is going to be one of them, are going to have an asterisk on them where, oh no, they weren't failures. It was
COVID.
It was COVID. If our release schedule would have worked perfectly for this movie if not for COVID.
Yeah.
And Disney executives can say that until forever because 2020 is a write-off.
Yep, you're right.
And by having this movie come out this weekend, they don't have to excuse the numbers in a way that they would. And it's the same kind of thing with Artemis Fowl. If that movie had come out, it would have been bomb. It would have been a huge bomb. But because it came out on Disney Plus in the way that it did, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Disney Plus is making hand over fist money. So from a financial perspective, opening a film like this during COVID totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, I totally get why they did it.
And honestly, as much as it wasn't great, I had fun.
Yeah, here's the thing. There was a chunk kind of at the start of the last quarter, I think, where I was like, oh my God. But, you know, the very end and at least like everything up until there, I was kind of like, you know, I can enjoy this.
I actually really liked the first like 25 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
I was on board. You know what I mean? And I was on board enough that I forgave like the first couple slip-ups.
Yep. It
not slip-ups, but like the first couple of moments where I was like,
ooh. Yeah. And that was the thing, is that like we can forgive those, but they just kept happening.
Yeah.
And we're to the point where eventually we just were giving each other looks like, oh.
Well, and we'll talk about it in the spoiler section, because I want to get into like what those moments are for me, and the ones that really stand out for me. But I will say that this movie doesn't have a plot that the characters influence in any way.
Yes.
And so the largest problem at the center of the film is that all these characters are stuck in a place where they have no control over any of the sequences of events happening around them. And so their opinions and feelings don't matter to what's happening, because no matter what, they're stuck and have to go on to the next moment.
Yep.
And so there isn't none of the characters in this film have actions that actually impact how anything happens in the film.
Yeah.
They're just stuck and have to deal with it. And so the movie, to me, once I realized that is what was happening, that was the moment that the movie lost me. When I realized that, oh, it doesn't matter what they do now. We just have to wait for shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have to wait for shit. And the audience and the characters in the film are waiting for the same thing. It's going to come in about 25 minutes because, you know, I know how long the movie is. So there was a point in this movie where I was like, I could honestly go to the bathroom right now, get popcorn, walk the mall, come back in about 20 minutes, and I'll know everything that the characters are going to know until the twist. Yeah. And I was right. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those things where I was like, all right, well, they can't do anything. Cool. Yeah. And I just, it's one of those things where it's interesting to me that a movie this size struggles with something like that. Like, I would think that,
like, that seems like one of the basics of storytelling. And you know what I mean? Is that the characters actually matter to the plot? Like, where, they didn't really.
You could have changed any of the mutants other than Danny. They could have been any character. Yeah. Because none of them impact the plot at all. Yeah. And none of them are even, like, especially Roberto, who is, to me, a fascinating character to dive into. Doesn't matter. Yeah. He gets one scene in a pool that is kind of interesting and is not relevant to anything else. Like even that scene in the pool doesn't matter to the rest of the plot of the movie. Like, it doesn't function in a way that, like, influences anything or impacts anyone. It is just this standalone sequence in a pool. And then there's a standalone sequence in a church. And then there's a standalone sequence in a shower. And none of them relate to each other than the fact that Danny is the cause. Yeah. And so, but also Danny's not doing anything.
Yeah, it's all subconscious and by accident. Like, she has no idea.
So the whole film is an accident. And that's the plot. The plot is characters are in a room and things happen around them repeatedly. The end. Yeah.
Yeah, which just doesn't make for a very interesting movie, you know?
Yeah. It's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate because these characters are interesting. And these characters are... I think that, like, this is a movie where the two female leads are a lesbian couple in a main screen... or in a big screen studio tentpole film that could have been the start of a franchise. Because, you know, they planned to have 3 of these films. You know, they had an idea for 3 New Mutants films. And to have a trilogy of big budget superhero films with a lesbian couple at the center of it would have been incredible. Yeah. And I would have loved that. And we're not going to get that because this movie's just not, for a lot of reasons. And a lot of them aren't this movie's fault. But yeah. Yeah, it
but
really...
no one's gonna like fight to get that New Mutants sequel because it's just gonna be like, meh. Well,
although I have a feeling there are going to be some young girls for whom this film is like the cult film for them.
Yeah, and I can very much understand that.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's just it doesn't hold up. Like, and no one's gonna put any more money into. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
There's not gonna be a Josh Boone cut of the New Mutants.
No.
All right, we're gonna talk spoilers, but we have to take a quick ad break first so that we can give you guys time to turn this off and not turn off, but pause it until you see the movie.
Yeah.
And you can join in on the spoiler discussion on the other side. I think both Clarice and I would say if this is on a streaming service and you want to watch it in like a year, go for it.
Yeah, if you just
if you have nothing else, it's short.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half.
It's the right length.
Yeah.
So that's as much money as I would put into it, is if you're already paying for a service that it's on for free.
Yeah.
Which will be Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. Because it's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Watch it on Disney Plus in spring 2022.
Wow. Yeah.
We'll be back in just a second. And we're back. What film? So, in the non-spoiler version of this, what we talked about a lot was that this felt watered down, and that the horror elements of it didn't work.
Yeah.
In the spoiler version, I would like to talk about why the rest of it didn't work. No, that's too mean. That is a joke. At the expense of a film that I don't think deserves it. I think that there's really fun stuff in this film, but there is a fundamental decision that they made in the making of it that dragged the whole thing down for me. Mm-hmm. And that was the decision for the Reyes character, the doctor, to not really impact the end of the movie. So within the plot of the movie, these mutants are stuck in a Essex Corporation facility. But
they don't know. They believe they're in some kind of hospital and they're being
they believe they're in a mental health institution. If you don't know the comics, Essex Corporation is Mr. Sinister's organization. Mm-hmm. He is a villain. If you know the comics, you know that these mutants are being trained to be weapons for Mr. Sinister. Yeah. Right? Or ostensibly, if, They don't know that, and this movie never gets into that. Yeah. I mean, it kind of does. It alludes to it in, like, there's a point where Rasputin Magique finds her file, and she... It's
a subject has limitless potential.
Yeah, about in being a killer. Mm-hmm. The problem is that they being stuck in this facility by Essex is essentially just a weird way to allow Danny's power to manifest around them. Mm-hmm. And so Reyes doesn't function as a antagonist for very long. She's literally
the last 20 minutes.
Not even. It's like 5 minutes that she's alive for. Oh, this is the spoiler part, so we can talk about it. She's just gone. And then Essex as this like corporation who's losing control and has cameras on all of this, doesn't send anybody in.
Yeah, like nobody appears. They like watch this whole facility get fucking torn to shreds and their employee get murdered and like nobody shows up.
And it really made the end of the movie strikingly odd that it seems to be the middle of the night when they're fighting the demon bear, right? And then at the end of the demon bear fight, it's morning.
Yeah.
And then so ostensibly time has passed before they leave. Mm-hmm. And no one at Essex was like, hey, we should send a helicopter.
Yeah, like they're just like, let him go. Like literally, like their information on Danny was like incredible, like power, like get more DNA samples, but like terminate subject because there's no way to control it. Like and they're just like, nah, let him go.
But also they have this whole facility with 5 very, 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 very dangerous mutants, and there is one person there.
Yeah, like nobody's standing by.
There's no one on the perimeter. Like I expected what I thought was going to happen was that the dome was going to come down, and that the reveal was going to be that they were inside a big building, and that there was nowhere they could go because the walls were fake. I was expecting a Truman Show moment, because I was like, why is there one person here? Fun, right? It would have been interesting.
That, yeah.
for there to be something at the end of this movie.
Yeah, but instead they all just walked away into the sunset holding hands.
Yeah, it was so... And because at the beginning, Danny's like, how did you find me? Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, my superior... has a way Mr. Sinister has a way of tracking mutants.
Yeah. Like when they manifest or whatever.
Unless they're in his own facility.
Yeah.
And I was really... That choice to make Essex such a non-entity in the movie made Reyes an odd antagonist and an odd character to try and pit the team against. Because she has really cool powers, like her domes and her force fields are very interesting, and there's only really like one moment where she uses them on
people,
the team, and it's in this like weird moment in the hallway where she like captures them all, and then the bear kills her immediately.
Well, actually there was one moment before that when they're fighting in like the games room or something like that, very briefly. She like uses a force field to separate Danny from what's her name?
Ileana Magique.
Yeah.
Colossus's younger sister.
Yeah. But that like... Yeah, and then she uses them at the end. She kind of traps them all in a force field, and she's like making these bubbles smaller and smaller, and like it looks like she's trying to like take away the air. Like Danny looks like she's like suffocating because she's trapped in this tiny bubble, curled up in a ball, and is kind of choking. And then she's ripped to shreds by a she's ripped to shreds by a giant bear after being ripped to shreds by Rain
by Maisie Williams.
As like a half wolf. She's not fully transformed. She just gave herself claws and teeth and like ripped her apart.
Yeah. It's interesting. Maisie Williams' character has this like interaction with the church that's very negative. But she kills the priest. Sunspot, which is his name, which I couldn't remember in the first part of this podcast. He killed his girlfriend. Cannonball killed his dad
and his whole mining team.
Ileana killed a bunch of dudes with her sword.
18, I think she said.
And Danny murdered her whole town with her demon bear.
The whole reserve, yeah. She was the only survivor. Like her dad is dead.
Why are all of these characters terrible people?
Well, most of them are accidents.
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them.
And honestly, like even Ileana, I was like, yeah, those dudes are probably a little, I it's not even that I'm like mad at them being murdered. It just seems like it's such a...
Feels like there's probably a good reason for it.
It is a very adult concept for a movie that isn't very adult.
Yeah.
And so this is the point that I'm trying to get to. It's not that they're bad people, because they're not. Like I would do the same thing that all of them did in each of their situations, and I don't think I'm a bad person. What I think is that this movie was not mature enough to deal with the consequences of those lines and those ideas. And so the movie just kind of glossed over them each time.
Yeah.
And like
you were like, whoa. And then, but then
everyone's fine.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay.
Like everyone's like, I killed her. I burned her to death with my bare hands.
Yeah.
And then in the next scene, he's like, so where's Ileana? Like, she's hot.
I'm going to marry that girl.
I'm going to marry that girl. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, weren't you just traumatized by the memory of burning your girlfriend alive?
Yeah. Yeah. It was trying to be something that it wasn't, unfortunately.
Well, but here's the thing. This is what I was saying about the movie being a watered down version of something, is I think that in an original horror full out version of this script, those character beats probably hit hard. Yeah. And it's the like, I don't want to say gentrification because it's the wrong word, but the like
castration,
homogenization of this film into what a superhero film should be, that took out the edge of it. And that's what it's hard because this movie, I know you haven't seen Glass, which is the M. Night Shyamalan film. That's the third movie in the Unbreakable Split Glass trilogy. But it is ostensibly the same film as this. The only difference being that it's a conversation about whether or not they're superheroes or whether they're insane.
Right.
Which is a much more interesting version of this film because it makes the mental hospital location seem valid. Yeah. In this movie, in the opening scene, she's like, "You've heard of mutants, right?" And Danny's like, "Yes." Okay, so we're all on the same page that mutants are real. No one's crazy here.
Yeah, everyone knows who the X-Men are.
Why is this facility a mental hospital? You know what I mean? Like, the location doesn't really make sense. If you were training them to be killers, why wouldn't you have them in a place where they're using their powers under a controlled circumstance? So the mental hospital is weird because it doesn't seem to fit the goal. And I guess like a hospital is a place that you would put someone to put them at ease so that they think that you're a good person. But if you're a bad person pretending to be a good person, why would you use such a creepy freaking hospital?
Yeah.
It's just like the things in this movie that are like concepts that worked in other films that are misused here is very interesting to me.
Yeah. It was very confusing what they were trying to do. What?
You're not wrong. Like I don't really get I don't get the purpose is.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't my favorite movie. And it sucked because I wanted to like it. I was like, oh, Maisie Williams is in this. Oh, it's a new X-Men movie. I was like, come on, give me something. And I tried. I tried really hard to like it, but unfortunately, we didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it was kind of just another superhero movie that ended with the heroes fighting a black cloud thing.
Yep.
Like,
that's a trope.
It's a trope, but it also just like there's no stakes.
Yeah.
When the demon bear was as big as it was, I was like, oh, you messed up.
But also, here's the thing. If that demon bear had just, like, come over and, like, killed Danny, it would have disappeared. And then, everything, like, there would have been no point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, there wasn't a point to anything that happened in this movie, though.
Yeah.
Like, the characters didn't even particularly grow.
No, not really.
There wasn't, like, change.
No, actually, now that I think about it, there really wasn't.
The only character who changes Reyes is because she was alive and now she ain't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, none of them got hurt. Like, I thought Majik broke her leg when she fell in the final battle.
Yeah.
But then she's fine when they're leaving.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, so none of them get hurt. The most injured any of them get is Cannonball before the movie starts by, like, crashing into the ground. But, like, when in all the Slender Man attacks, like, none of them get hurt.
Yeah.
They get attacked by these, like, weird things with giant teeth and giant claws, and there's no
scratches.
There's no blood.
Yeah.
There's no, and I get that it's PG-13 and whatnot, but, like, this movie is so sanitized of anything that would make it worth watching.
Yeah, I know. Well,
oh God,
I think that's our verdict on it. Is it's not. I don't know. Is it worth watching?
No, it's not. Even as short as it is. I mean, here's the thing. We kind of said in the Tenet episode, which I hope you listened to before this because we've referenced it a few times. But we kind of said in the movie that like that movie could have tried less. It just felt like it was trying too hard to prove itself, which is weird because Christopher Nolan doesn't have to prove anything. He's like,
yeah, truly.
You don't have to impress anyone, dude. Everyone's impressed. You're incredible. This movie could have tried a little bit harder to me.
Yep.
It just could have. I feel like it could have done a little bit more. And I honestly,
it felt watered down. Like you said.
I don't think it's Josh Boone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that it is. First of all, I'd be interested to see what this movie looked like before Disney took over and see what it was like as a Fox movie.
Totally.
Because the one thing I will say about Venom as a film is that Fox let them do, Venom is Sony. Never mind. I'm mixing my wires. I was about to say Venom is allowed to do whatever it wants. Fox isn't always the case. Actually, you know what? This is kind of exactly what a Fox X-Men movie is. It looks like there was a cool idea. And then depending on whether or not the studio sanitized it, you all right there?
Yeah, my stomach just growled.
That was loud.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You were saying?
This is exactly, this is kind of, it reminds me of X-Men Apocalypse in a way, in that, like, the ideas are big and dark and moody, but the tone of the movie isn't. Like in X-Men Apocalypse, billions of people are killed.
Yeah.
But at the end, they're like, we're the heroes.
And you're like,
and I'm like, are you? Are we really going to try and let Magneto not be a villain in the next movie after he killed billions of people by removing... Anyway, I don't need to go into X-Men Apocalypse, but it was really striking to me that this is another kind of Fox property that treats the X-Men in the same way. Of just sort of not letting them be the like dark, not dark, because there are plenty of X-Men comics for kids, but the like adult storytelling and just having a purpose. This movie just doesn't have a point.
Yeah.
There's no moral in it. You know what I mean? There's no like, it is a thing that happens in a place that has no impact on the characters or the people outside of that place. Yeah. And so.
Yeah. It's like, why care?
And like, what would a sequel to this even be?
I don't know. But the problem is, honestly, I find I honestly, because like I said, the source material and like the characters seem like they had like something cool to them. And so, you know, I almost in my head think that a sequel would be more interesting, like them trying to figure out actually who they are and maybe having character growth and interacting with the world. Like, I would find that more interesting than this movie was, but we're not going to get it. So
yeah, no, and it's a shame because honestly, like I
I'll just go read the comics.
Will you?
No.
If we're gonna start getting you into comics, this isn't where I would start you.
Fair enough. Where would you start me?
Probably with some like graphic novel stuff that's like really, really well done.
Fair enough. I picked up The Walking Dead off the shelf out there and I was like, ooh.
The Walking Dead is an interesting read, but it's really, the comic is really brilliant. It's really, really good. Yeah. The New Mutants comic, really good. But like the problem with New Mutants as a comic book, and this has nothing to do with the movie, but it also kind of has something to do with the movie now that I think about it, is the amount of knowledge that you kind of have to go into it with is high. Yeah. Because they're like a spin-off of, like, even this movie never references that Majik is Colossus's sister. Yeah. And it's like it's weird that, like, you know, the mutant culture is such a big... It is nice that this movie trusts its audience to know what mutants are at this point after 20 years of X-Men and 21 years of X-Men movies since the first one in 1999. So it is nice that it didn't try and be like, here's a montage of Wolverine, Cyclops, and but at the same time it also is like, what version of this world are we in? That was another thing. I did not know what world we were in, because when Danny sees into Reyes' mind, my first thought was like, is that the footage from Logan? Does this take place after Logan in the Logan verse? Yeah. Which would be insane. But it was weird. It was
a choice.
Yeah. I really wanted this to be... I just wanted... Like, when we were going to the movies last night, I was like, oh, we're going to see 2 movies. They're both going to be good. We're going to have a good night. Yeah. And... you know, this wasn't the experience I wanted.
It's a little underwhelming.
It was, yeah.
But you know what? There's going to be new stuff. You know, luckily we're in Canada, so things are coming out here. And, you know, Mulan's coming out soon. I'm sure that'll be good. We'll have new stuff to enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't be able to talk about Mulan on the podcast. You might have to do a solo podcast about Mulan.
Oh my God, nobody wants that.
I want it. Because I can't talk. I'm having surgery in 3 days. Yep. So, Nerdy Nightly content will be interesting.
This is not like a major scary thing. I mean, like, it is
I'm having a full head transplant. No. So that I can look more like Henry Cavill.
I'm so sorry.
Why? He's so good looking.
I don't know. A head transplant just sounds unnecessarily dangerous.
Yeah. Also impossible, probably, but, you know.
I don't know.
They're trying it in Russia.
Wow. Well,
go look that up. We're not going to do it for you because Google exists, my friend, and I might have made that up. That might not be true, so I'm not going to waste time trying to prove it.
Wow. On that note,
what can they do? They can follow us, right?
Yeah. You guys can check us out. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and Twitch. You can find us at Nerdy Nightly, and I stream at Claris Dracaris. Did I miss it? Reddit? We're on the Reddits.
We're on the Reddits. We have all the Reddits, remember?
Yeah.
As we always say, my name's David Webb.
I'm Arrielle Edwards.
Do something nerdy tonight. Bye-bye.
Bye.